Maggie is a chartered professional accountant and she speaks 3 languages. She's been studying and living in the US and Canada for more than a decade. As a woman entrepreneur and immigrant, she wishes to use her professional background and personal experience to help those with similar backgrounds like her. Maggie provides business consultation service to women entrepreneurs, new immigrants to Canada, as well as career consultation for young professionals. Maggie strongly believes that accounting literacy is important for small business owners, and bookkeeping is one of the sections that she has received the most questions from.
Yes.
So today, Maggie is going to talk about common errors around bookkeeping and share important information for business owners to keep in mind.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Maggie.
Good morning,
How are you
Harry.
doing?
Good morning.
Thank you for joining. So Maggie, we have listed a few questions that which we feel would answer some important basic questions which revolve around bookkeeping. And yeah, so Maggie, our first question is, right, this is a very basic question, but we feel it's important. So what is bookkeeping and how does a bookkeeper help business?
Yes, so there are some misconceptions between bookkeeping and accounting. So people may know about accounting, but they are quite confused about what bookkeeping is. Generally speaking, bookkeeping is the process of tracking all of the company's financial transaction. So small business owner can see exactly where their business is spending money, where they are receiving revenue from, and what kind of tax deduction they will be able to claim.
Can you please definitely, Maggie, can you please tell us what should a business owner do from day one if he or she wants to do bookkeeping all by themselves?
Yes, if the business owner has decided to do bookkeeping themselves, first of all, they kind of need to have a basic accounting knowledge and have the time to do it. So if they decide that that's what they want to do, then there are a couple of points that they need to be aware of from day one. For instance, like you guys mentioned about, the most important thing is to separate between business and personal expense. So here I strongly suggest business owner to open a business account just for their own business expense, but not to mix up the personal expense, because the business related expense could be deducted, but the Canada Revenue Agency does not allow personal expense to be deducted from the company. And also the second important thing is to choose between single entry and double entry system. So in accounting, we use double entry system. It means that we have a debit and we have a credit side. So the debit always equal to the credit to make sure that the balance is good. But for the single entry system, it may be useful for a sole proprietor that has very simple tax structure. And the third point is to choose between cash and accrual method. So if the sole proprietor or business owner decide to use the cash system, then they record the revenue when they actually receive the cash or receive the check. But if for a more complex system, for instance, like for contractor or for doctor, accrual methods may be recommended. So in that case, when the contractor has invoiced the bill to the client, but the client has not paid yet, the contractor can record the revenue when they issue the invoice, even though the cash is not there yet. And some other important points are to choose between bookkeeping system. So there are so many bookkeeping systems in the market. So some simple way could be like using just Excel or use cloud accounting systems such as QuickBooks, Xero, FreshBook, and Waves. And finally, categorizing the transaction, organize and store the receipts and the documents, and making bookkeeping a habit are very essential for small business owner who want to do bookkeeping at the first day.
Thank you so much for those points, Maggie, because the reason why we asked this particular question is most of our business owners, when we start, right, we do have economic constraints, right? Not every one of us can afford services to have from the start. So it really helps if we know like what we can do from day one, and we get to a stage where we can take the services. So just going to the next question. Oh, but before that,
Before that, we'd like to highlight some of the reactions coming from our comments. George.
George has joined us. Hey,
Says,
George.
hello, hi George. Thanks for joining us. He says thanks, Maggie, for sharing expertise. And Ian says hi, course buddies as well.
Hey,
Hi,
hey.
Ian. Thanks for joining us again.
So our next question is: at what point should a business owner start using book services, even though they're doing it by themselves? But at what point do you recommend that they should actually start using bookkeeping services by somebody else?
So the small business owner can consider using a bookkeeper when they meet the following points. So the first one is the small business owner are spending too much time on doing their own book. So as business owner, we wear so many hats. We are the marketer, we are the CEO, we are the CFO. So if the small business owner feel that they are overwhelmed and do not have the time to do their book, it may be a good time for them to think about whether to outsource the bookkeeping system. And also, if the small business owner are not sure about the accuracy of the bookkeeping, so when I was working in the firm, the most situation that I have dealt with was the small business owner bring the book, but the book was really messy because they did not have the basic accounting knowledge to do the book. So they ended up spending a lot of time hiring us to clean the book. So if the small business owner does not have the basic accounting knowledge, or they do not have time to learn, maybe it's a good thing to outsource to the bookkeeper. And also, if like small business owners' interests are just not in bookkeeping, they avoid doing it all together. So it may be a sign for them to procrastinate doing something that they do not want. And like you mentioned about procrastination is the killer of bookkeeper. So that's the point when they should think about outsourcing. And finally, if the small business owner is thinking about growing their business, having a good financial statement, a clear financial statement is very important for them to get the loan from the bank. So the bookkeeping is like the ingredient for the financial statement. So the small business owner want to make sure that the ingredient from day one is accurate, so the financial statement is accurate, and they will be able to get the loan to expand themselves. So there are some of the points that I think it is important to think about when thinking about whether to outsource the bookkeeping system.
Thank you so much for such amazing information that you have. Maggie, can you please tell us how bookkeeping protect their clients?
So the bookkeeping is very important and protect the client in a couple of ways. So we have touched points some of those, but I'll just recap it briefly. So the first one is the bookkeeper helps the small business owner to catch more tax deduction. And also the different expense may be treated with different tax deduction as well. For instance, like meals and entertainment is different from the office expense when in the tax way. So the bookkeeping, when we categorize the bookkeeping system pretty well, then we are able to get more tax deduction, get it more clearly. And also this bookkeeping can assist the small business owner in getting a business loan, like I have mentioned earlier. Bookkeeping helps financial statement mistakes to be caught earlier. When we have a bookkeeping system in time efficiently, when there is financial discrepancy happen in the book, the bookkeeper or the small business owner can catch the mistake earlier and fix the mistakes to avoid bigger issue in the future. And finally, the bookkeeping will give you a clear picture about where the small business owner's business and money is going. So usually there's a cash flow projection function in the online bookkeeping system that the small business owner can use to predict their future cash flow. So the future cash flow is like the bloodstream of the company. So if we have like a shortage of cash flow, we may not be able to pay our vendor, we may not be able to pay our employee. So having a clear idea about where our money position will be, it is very important. And bookkeeping will play a role in helping us to get a better prediction.
As a important point, as business owners, we have to wear a lot of hats. We have to play a lot of roles. And while we're doing that, if we don't have things organized ahead of us, in front of us, it makes we can relate that to something like a brain fog, that we don't really know what to do next, where to do next, because if we don't know where the money is and how the money is coming, and if we have enough money, we need to do something more about money, it becomes it gets chaotic. So
Yeah, definitely. You can even get stuck at a point, and which is not so good for the health of your business at all.
yes, and all this can be avoided. The best part is all this can be avoided by just some daily steps that we need to do. So our next question is, Maggie, how do business owners find the right bookkeeper? So what are the qualities that a business owner should look in an efficient bookkeeper?
So there are many bookkeepers in the market, and it is sometimes hard to find the right one. But there are some points that I recommend when interviewing a potential bookkeeper for your company. So the first one is to find someone with good bookkeeping experience. So it can be based on the number of company they have done bookkeeping with, like the years of the bookkeeping experience they have. But just keep in mind that the more experienced the bookkeeper, the higher the cost that they may charge. So always keep the balance between paying the good amount of money of getting the adequate experience of the bookkeeper. And the second thing is that make sure the bookkeeper you hire is comfortable with technology. And this is so important because the bookkeeping software now are online and even cloud-based. And also online storage receipt system is in place as well. So the bookkeeper or the business owner does not need to keep the physical receipts if they store it online in the cloud. And also, the bookkeeper need to fax and scan information to the small business owner. So those are quite technology handy, demanding. So just to make sure that the bookkeeper is comfortable with learning the new technology to cope with the new bookkeeping system. And also the data entry and reporting is so important because procrastination is a no in the bookkeeping system. So small business owner want to make sure that the bookkeeper is able to handle the data, to turn the data into a monthly financial statement for small business owner to review, and that require an punctual data entry and reporting. And finally, that's my point. I think it is important to have a basic understanding of the tax system because the bookkeeper will help with filing the corporate tax return by communicating with the accountant in year end. And also they're responsible for payroll remittance, HST remittance at some point. So a basic understanding of tax, knowing the deadline, knowing how to contact the CRA, it is also very important when small business owner interviewing the bookkeeper.
At the end, we always ask our guests to share some 3 important key secrets with our audience, which will help us all with our businesses.
So the first one is the failure is the mirror of opportunity. So in my perspective, like small business owner will not experience failure if they do not try. But if they do not try, they will miss out all the opportunity. So just get the foot out and just be brave, and do it. It's so important. And the second is embrace uncertainty and be resilient. So especially under the COVID-19 situation, so many small business owners are being affected, and some may question about the survival of their business. So being resilient under this uncertain time is so important. And one way to help us to success is to create value for our customer. And finally, don't be afraid of getting out of your comfort zone. So based on my experience living and studying overseas for close to a decade, so I definitely have encountered a lot of challenges and a lot of changes. But it is very, very important for me to get out of my comfort zone, because I never know what I would learn after I get out of my comfort zone. So those are the three important secrets for me to success.